You're on, Fred.
You're on. Welcome everyone to International Executive Resources Group, or IRG's virtual meeting. It's a real honor for us to have as guest speakers the Cornerstone Executive Search Management Team responsible for Latin America, Miami, South Florida, and the U.S. Hispanic regions. So it's great to have the CEO of Cornerstone, Diego Cubas, and Rodolfo Artiles, Managing Director of Miami and to the Hispanic market of the United States. And special guest, Ken Fennerman, Chief Human Resources Officer at XMed. It's a very special guest that we have aboard. So today we will learn from Diego and his team the HR trends in 2025 focused on talent, technology, and purpose. But first, since we have several guests attending this virtual meeting as far south as Peru and as far north as Barcelona, I wanted to go over a few things. What is IRG? And it's basically a diverse group of multicultural international executives with a mixture of several originally from Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Canada, Venezuela, Jamaica, Sweden, and not to forget Peru, US, Spain, and Argentina, etc. We're a regular United Nations of executives who have had experience working overseas. So we have a good group of managers that have industry experience resulting in expanding one's network, developing contacts, and perhaps identifying business opportunities. Here in the Miami chapter, who's sponsoring this meeting, we have over 120 members. I'd like to show you a few photos now of some of the meetings that we've had before. Here's a meeting with Dr. Mark Rosenberg, the former president of Florida International University, which is one of the top 5 public universities in the United States. Next slide, please. And here is a slide with the United States ambassador to Brazil, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, and Bolivia. And she was also a real star at the meeting. And we also had the Consul General of Canada, very inspiring meeting. We had 50 people at the event. Next one, Eric de la Fuente talking about Ukraine, the United States relationships and what's going on with Russia. We had a great meeting there also. Continue. And we had a IT expert, Christopher Sullivan, who flew down here from Atlanta to give a presentation on AI. It was really exciting. And I could go on, but here is another famous fellow in the news, Dr. Gamarra, who is very close to the relationship with the Secretary of State in the United Nations, with the United States, excuse me. Do we have one more? This is a meeting we also had on governance with Mauro Rodriguez as the speaker, and for many of you who know her, the moderator was Adriana Machado. And here is a meeting with the dean of the business school at University of Miami, and he's been on board now for about 10 months. So it was good to have him as a speaker just as he started his new responsibility. Now I'd like you to meet our moderator, who's an IRG executive member and also the managing director of Cornerstone for Miami and the Hispanic market in the United States. And he will also be handling the introductions and the Q&A segment. Rodolfo has over 34 years of international management experience, especially in the consumer goods sector. He has had working experience in Latin America, Africa, and the US markets, with distinguished companies like Procter & Gamble, Clorox, and Whirlpool. A real impressive and outstanding expat background. He also holds a BS degree from Universidad del Valle de Guatemala and a BS degree from Auburn University. So we're so glad to have him not only as an IRG member, but today to be the moderator. So with great pleasure, I present you Rodolfo. Take it away, Rodolfo.
Thank you, Fred. It's really a pleasure to be part of today's conversation on such a critical topic, which is how organizations can align talent, technology, purpose to be successful in today's changing world. To walk us through these emerging trends, I want to introduce, and I'm pleased to welcome Diego Cubas, as you mentioned, and Kenneth Finneran, two outstanding professionals, and I'll do a very short introduction of each one. Diego is the president of Latin America at Cornerstone and serves as CEO and managing partner of Cornerstone Peru, as well as president of Cornerstone Miami, Ecuador, and Bolivia. He's also a partner and director of Cornerstone Mexico and Panama, with 18 years of experience in executive search across Peru and over 20 countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. He's a member of the global board of directors of Cornerstone International Group and part of the firm's global chief operating search committee, covering 40 countries. He holds a degree in business administration from University of Lima and an MBA from University del Pacifico, and has completed the CEO management program at Kellogg, Northwestern University, and the CEO and board members program at EISE in New York. Welcome, Diego. We are very happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And Kenneth Finneran, he's the global CHRO of eMed. Kenneth is a global HR and talent executive, thought leader, and entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience driving strategic human resources initiatives across multinational organizations. He currently serves as CHRO of eMed, a leading digital health innovator in the GLP-1 program management for obesity, diabetes, and population health. Prior to eMed, he led hyper-growth HR strategies at Casilla, a national beverage corporation, contributing to more than 400 growth of both companies. With over a decade of international experience and multiple entrepreneurial ventures, he brings intercultural fluency and business acumen to diverse leadership roles. A recognized voice in strategic talent, global leadership, AI, and the future of work, he is also a frequent speaker and civic leader. Kenneth serves on several boards and committees, including the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce, Miami Tech Talent Coalition, St. Thomas University, and the Casimiro Global Foundation. Welcome, Kenneth. It's really a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Great. Well, how the presentation is going to work is that Diego will lead the presentation, which is going to be broken down in 5 trends. And after each trend, I'm going to jump in and ask a question to Ken that he's going to also answer that question in terms of his experience in his particular business. So with that, Diego, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Many thanks to ERG for the invitation to be here and to present a regional survey that we led this year on the global HR trends that are transforming the way businesses are conducted. My name, as mentioned before, is Diego Cubas. I'm the president of Cornerstone Latin America and also president of the Hispanic market in the US. Thanks, Rodolfo, for making this webinar possible with Fred Suarez and Ken for participating, for sharing your insights also with us based on your experience in talent management and HR. First of all, I would like to give a perspective of the transformational forces that are reshaping the way businesses are being led today. So what is happening globally? We have 5 key forces. The first one is accelerated urbanization, the exponential growth of urban areas and the industrialization of cities and regions. Everything revolves around cities, airports, ports, and so on. This is mainly driven by the fact that most of us prefer to live close to our workplaces, schools, and leisure centers. It also involves the expansion of infrastructure, construction, and real estate. Along with this come an increase in talent diversity. We have seen this in the pandemic a lot. Talent didn't have nationality. And Miami itself is an astounding example of accelerated urbanization and talent diversity. We see people from every region. The second one is shifts in economic power. This mainly related to shifting global power dynamics with a lot of mergers and acquisitions. The rise of fast-growing economies like China and India, both of them are hubs for technology, and a stronger focus also on more sustainable economies such as Finland and UK. In terms of demographic changes, we're seeing the aging of cities and countries, with Japan being the most aged population in the world, and Mexico among the countries with the youngest population. This impacts in segmentation, mainly the search of talent, for diversified talent, and also health ecosystem. We are also observing shifts in consumptions and habits and the rise of growing middle class that is driving higher levels also of consumption. About the climate changes and resource scarcity, that is also a key force, is the rise of green talent is another key shift with a strong focus on purpose and ESG. We see it as executive search consultants. Today, talent increasingly want to understand on an organization ESG strategy before entering or accepting a position into the company. And last but not least, industrial revolution. We're currently living through the fourth industrial revolution. An industrial revolution, to be clear, occurs when advanced new technologies emerge, transforming behaviors, transforming consumption habits, and having a massive impact in the economy. So new digital organizations are being born. Most of them are stronger than 5 years ago. And many traditional companies are evolving into tech-enabled businesses also. So where are we coming from? We have three stages. Pre-pandemic, a strong focus on productivity, often measured by the amount of time employees spend in the office. Work-life balance was limited. Then we went to pandemic, the rise of remote work, but more importantly, a genuine interest in the emotional well-being of employees. There was a significant increase, of course, in diversity and greater level of trust in employees, with performance evaluated in a fully remote environment. And now we are in the post-pandemic. New ways of assessing and developing teams have emerged with a stronger focus on work-life balance, tighter results. A lot of focus in culture and on purpose. Sense of belonging is key also, all while maintaining flexibility. Next one, please. So there are several key messages that I want to leave you during this presentation. The first one is we're actually living the fourth industrial revolution. So the fourth industrial revolution embraces purpose, culture, sustainability, and diversity. Next one, please. So what's next? Transformation and also adaptability. Talent is scarcer and demanding. Investment in technology and purpose-driven organizations are born. So we conducted the HR Trends study to understand the perception of business leaders across Latin America and the region, mainly. We surveyed over 600 HR executives across the region and conducted 15 depth interviews to understand perfectly the insights they wanted to know. Our goal was to understand mainly what are the trends that are reshaping the way organizations are being managed from a talent perspective. The market example, we had some key points. 50% of the organizations surveyed had more than 1,000 employees. And 50% of these companies were multinational ones, and almost 50% were local conglomerates. That includes, of course, family-owned businesses. Worldwide, 80% of the companies worldwide are family-owned businesses. They represent 70% of deployment worldwide. And of course, they have an impact in 60% of the GDP. So, which are the 5 key findings? The first one is AI and tech in talent management. With 58%, the incorporation of AI in HR processes is positioned as the most relevant trend for 2025. From the perspective of organizational leaders around the world, the implementation of AI is considered to have an impact on increasing productivity by 40%. And beyond investment in technology, the most important variables that are involved in these processes are cultural change and changes also in organizational structures. That includes responsibilities and also roles. Change management, of course, plays an important role here, maximizing participation and minimizing rejection in these implementations. Besides, in the latest, the Future of Jobs report, that is a really strong report from the World Economic Forum, 75% of the companies are looking now to incorporate technology related mainly to artificial intelligence, cloud computing data in their companies in the next 5 years. So today, next one, please. Today, talent leaders face a constant tension between 3 key variables. First one is convincing the CEO to invest in HR technology and quickly demonstrating returns over investment. The second one is leading cultural and organizational change, ensuring successful adoption of new tools and ways of working, that is change management mainly, how to maximize participation and minimize reaction. And number 3 is doing it all with limited resources, often requiring them to sacrifice other valuable initiatives to prioritize the digital transformation in the company. So key finding number.
Let me jump in here, Diego. To me, it's clear that AI is no longer optional. I mean, I think it's becoming totally central to what HR operates and does. And
Yes.
as people say, you know, with great power comes great responsibility, but also great complexity, as we will see further ahead. And I wanted to ask Ken, in your experience, Ken, in eMed, how have you approached balancing automation in HR processes with that human touch, specifically in areas like recruiting or performance evaluation?
Sure. Thank you so much for that. And that's a great place to start, Diego. Kudos. And again, thank you to everyone, IERG, for making this webinar possible, Diego and Rodolfo for the insights, and all of you for joining today. I want to come straight to the question because AI is indeed front and center, but I would start with something perhaps that is also a change, and I'm curious if you have seen that in the research as well, that unfortunately we've done ourselves a disservice, HR and otherwise as a business, by calling it artificial intelligence. When we refer to it here at eMed, and getting directly to the question, we refer to it as AI squared, but as augmented intelligence. And what I mean by that is that AI is, and from the very beginning, when we talk about how it will change the way that we are working, how it is enhancing productivity and efficiency at a baseline, but beyond that, changing the way that we work and do business entirely, it is augmenting what we do as human beings. So to the question of how we're using it, we are taking an approach, somewhat of a measured approach, of balancing automation with authenticity. In the recruiting space, we use it to streamline what I would call high volume tasks, those being resume parsing, scheduling, things like that. But some of the critical touch points, like interviews and certainly offer negotiations, cultural discussions, which Diego was highlighting, those remain, at least for us, deeply human-led. Although I will say we have begun experimenting with AI interviewing technology as well. And initial outcomes there are actually very, very positive. You had asked about performance evaluations as well, and we've incorporated AI tools in a few ways there, both triangulating pattern recognition with engagement and productivity data. But again, those insights are used to augment, not replace manager judgment. So managers are also, in our case, leveraging AI to provide the proper differentiation language among team members in those performance reviews, because we have done away entirely with any form of numerical rating. So a scored rating system, such as what I would consider an outdated 5-point rating system or scale, but also to keep the conversations future focused. So asking AI to take on the role of a coach or mentor in that process, rather than just a collector of data. So we've leveraged it in that way as well. Those are some of the initial spaces in the HR space, but touching on also on what Diego shared and piggybacking on that, I think HR has a critical role to be one of the leads in this space of transformation and AI transformation within organizations. It is probably the best positioned function in partnership with the likes of engineering, IT, etc., to lead the overall business transformation utilizing AI. And we have done that. I have, together with my team, taken the lead on our overall AI transformation here as an organization that perhaps we will get into with some of the other trends that I think Diego is going to be talking about.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ken. I really love the work that you guys are doing in eMed. I've had the chance to, interact with some of your people and know the work that you have done. And it's really outstanding. I really respect that. And I love the term, augmented intelligence, because I think it really reflects the complexity and the impact on the organization in different areas and relationships and communication. So I think that's great. I'm going to steal it from you. Great. Go ahead, Diego.
Sure. Thank you, Ken. I couldn't agree more with what you have said. So the key finding number 2, 44% of the participation companies stated that this would be the second most important challenge by 2025. We have two types of skills: the hard skills and the soft skills. I prefer them to call them power skills, the second ones. So in hard skills, average lifespan between 2 and 3 years. On soft skills, average lifespan is lifetime, but requires adaptation. So skills such as communication, impact and influence, teamwork, among others. Behaviors of each of them skills evolve during the time. Also, according to the World Economic Forum, this report of the future of jobs, the average skill has a lifespan of 2.5 years, and 40% of those skills are expected to change in the next 5 years. That's something really, really interesting that, of course, we're going to discuss with you, Ken, in a few minutes.
Yeah.
About upskilling, helping employees develop other skills to their current job better, and reskilling, developing other abilities to do other roles within the organization. So in investing in developing people, in my opinion, you have 2 pillars. The first one is learning willingness. A key variable in potential theory is learning agility, which is made up of 2 components: learning capacity, related mainly with IQ, and learning willingness, related mainly with drive, determination, and curiosity. And the second pillar is change management. HRs and CEOs, of course, need to focus on this, maximizing participation during these processes. Please, Rodolfo, jump in.
I think, do you want me to go ahead, or I think you have
Yes,
one more slide?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
No, I think these are great insights. I think they resonate a lot with me. I firmly believe in education and training. And I think it paints a real clear picture in terms of, skills are really expiring and, faster than ever, and especially hard skills, and organization, I think they should invest, they continue to invest in both, in hard and soft skills to stay competitive, but without forgetting about two key essential areas, which are, the learning piece and the change management piece, which I think we're going to talk about later. But, Ken, please help us understand, how has eMed adapted its learning and development programs to ensure that skills remain relevant? Are you seeing some a shift toward internal mobility based on capability rather than traditional, career ladders?
Great questions. And I think career ladders have probably been outdated since the beginning of the 2000s. We take a much more lattice approach. So development, learning, etc., can be upwards, downwards, sideways, or a combination of all of those. But the pace of change has undoubtedly, as Diego was sharing, made learning a necessary core talent strategy for us here at eMed. Now, what I mean by that, upskilling, reskilling, we've actually shifted from a history of event-based learning to a continuous on-demand model using AI-curated platforms that recommend content based on skill gaps, team priorities, and business needs. I love what Diego was presenting and saying about power skills. I've used that term and was smiling as you said that. Those of you who connect with me on LinkedIn, you'll see power skills for success, a presentation I had done about a year and a half ago on exactly that topic, and love the term there. We teach about that. So beyond technical skills, which for us are very important. For us, we have a daily AI blog. We have monthly AI trainings for managers and employees. But this reskilling has to happen. We pose the question, and this is the tough question to any business out there. Are you learning as fast as the world is changing? Is your learning keeping pace with the business needs or the needs of the business environment? And the reality is, most of the time, your business and the results of your business are constrained by your ability as a business to learn quickly. So I believe Diego was speaking about learning agility, and he's right. If your business wants to perform, the only way that you are going to be able to do that is to increase your learning agility, which is finding one of the key words in this new environment is personalization. The one-size-fits-all model, if it was ever relevant, is certainly not relevant anymore. And so how do we get personalized outcomes that maximize business outcomes for us? That is maximizing on-demand learning that is going to further those business outcomes for each individual in his or her strategic role. And that's what we are focused on. But you had brought up skills, Rodolfo, and I think we've seen the pendulum swing a few ways over the decades. We had heard about competencies, and then we had shifted skills-based taxonomy. Yes, we utilize and have developed a skills taxonomy at eMed. I believe in that, but I don't believe it's the sole driver. Again, it is an augmentation. There are still tasks, duties, responsibilities that should be part of a job description, a development plan, a succession plan, outcomes that we are striving for, OKRs, KPIs, however your organization defines them. But skills are a critical component of that. So yes, with that, we have augmented those development plans, which allows us then to match people to opportunities based on capabilities, not just job titles, that then creates that more agile and motivated workforce.
That's a very progressive way to look at it. I really love it. Thank you very much, Ken. Go ahead, Diego.
Sure. This slide that shows the most valued skills from a leadership perspective, as also from a technical perspective. So you can see it. You can see, for instance, critical thinking, ability to change, emotional intelligence, still really key. And from a technical point of view, analysis and the use of data is also important. Today, leaders normally they are encouraged to use data in order to make decisions. One more, please. Yes, thank you. So in just 5 years, Gen Z will represent at least 40% of the global workforce. Today, millennials and Z generation, they represent 50% approximately. Next one, please. Purpose is the emotional connection between the organization, its clients, and the employees. Is the emotional reason of existence. 60% of employees today do not feel that the organization where they work live and respect their corporate values and purposes. There's an insight from our study. And purpose and culture are the new currency. New generations do not only care about money, but they care about essence, personality of the company. So culture is really, but really important today. Next one, please. Our study also showed that 76% they say that attracting and retaining talent will be the most relevant challenge for human talent. And this is also supported by the survey conducted by the National Association of Corporate Directors last year, which found that competition for talent is a top priority for organizations. Please.
Yeah, to me, it's very interesting, this trend or this insight, because what stood out to me was the complexity and also the opportunity of managing, 4 different generations. Actually, sometimes even 5, because if we take into account family companies where, the founder and the owner is part of the silent generation, and he could be participating in the business. So sometimes you have 5 different generations, interacting in the workplace. And here, I think customization seems to be like the name of the game. And when I think about, customization, I think about how do you understand their needs? How do you connect with their values and purpose? And in that direction, how has eMed implemented to attract Gen Z talent without, alienating more senior generations? Have you find any ways to bridge, those values like flexibility, purpose, recognition across different age groups?
Yes, we actually have, and I think it starts with our core approach to generations. I've seen many organizations that have approached the 4 or 5 generations in the workforce as opposing forces, if you will. And we've embraced the idea that generational preferences are not at all opposing forces, but design constraints for a smarter culture. Coming back to what Diego just pointed out about culture and purpose. For Gen Z in particular, purpose and culture, but also personalization are paramount for them. So, but not only for them. So we've embedded, as an example, our mission into our onboarding process. A lot of individuals, including myself, when I first joined the organization 3.5 years ago, were very drawn to the idea of democratizing healthcare. And how we did that was through providing solutions that provided greater accessibility, affordability, and convenience. Those are 3 words that are definitely not normally affiliated with the US healthcare system. And I would go so far as to say with most healthcare systems around the world. And yet that was very enticing for individuals. Beyond just democratizing healthcare, disrupting healthcare, the idea of being at the forefront technologically and otherwise of an industry which continues growing in importance and relevance, but also the analogy of changing the tires on the race car as you're driving it around the track. That's where we are, of being a leader, being out front, leading the pack, so to speak, but also adjusting as we go along. That's really enticing to Gen Z. We also highlighted our sustainability and community engagement initiatives. That goes to the purpose, the ESGs, things like that, corporate social responsibility, all of those engagements. We highlighted the flexibility, and for us, flexibility isn't as much about location, but more about performance alignment, autonomy, things like that. And we can come to that maybe later. But at the same time, for our more experienced employees, we ensure that recognition and stability aren't lost in the shift. Again, we do that by continuous engagement, continuous dialogue. I mentioned before about performance. For us, performance is not a moment or 2 in time during a year. So it's not an annual or semi-annual performance review. It's ongoing. That in and by itself is a way that we have been able to address and have conversations with all of the generations where they are. But I will highlight maybe one other initiative that has been highly successful for us, which has been what we call our reverse mentoring program. This is where Gen Z, in many cases, but they don't have to be Gen Z, digital native employees or those who are very digitally adept, oftentimes are coaching senior leaders, whether it's Gen X, boomers, et cetera, on some of these emerging tools and trends. It has not only created a great deal of mutual respect, but it's also helped bridge that digital fluency gap within the organization, especially as we were becoming an AI-first company. So we've also expanded recognition to things like public shout-outs in Slack and on Google Chat, to structured development plans. We've done that really so that every generation feels seen and heard, which goes to that inclusion also, which is very important from a purpose perspective for all of the generations.
I love the inverse mentoring program that you mentioned, Ken. I think it's great. I mean, you need to have a culture of humility, vulnerability, acceptance, for all the generations to, allow this exchange of ideas and feedback. And I think it's great. But also what stood to me and has popped out in the last 2 trends is the customization, personalization. Nowadays, we are basically dealing with that in many areas. And it's not about a cookie cutter approach. It's about understanding each one of the segments or specific, people that we're dealing with. And it's reflected in many areas of our lives. For example, if you want to map the customer journey of any purchase or any brand, as pretty much, personalization and customization. So we are dealing with that area today, and we need to be aware, we need to be prepared and ready for that. So that is great conversation. Thank you. Go ahead, Diego.
Sure. Just to complement, I don't know if you have heard about Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek has a powerful theory that has a powerful framework to understand what drives truly inspiring leaders and organizations. And it consists of three layers, or he calls them the three golden circles. The why, how, what, no? And the why is this is a core purpose, the cause or belief that inspires the organization to exist beyond just making money. So I think there's a truly great connection of what we're talking right now. So yes,
We have 10 more minutes, Diego.
yes, sure. Perfect. So number 4 is about flexibility continues to be the central to human talent challenges. 60% of the employees still in hybrid right now, right? So yeah, next one, please, so we can rush a little bit. So 60% of the employees still in hybrid, 40% of them in 3 on site and 2 remote. You want to tell us about Ken about what we're doing in your company, but this is the insight of Latam actually now. But the return to face-to-face learning will continue to gain ground, and that's what we're seeing, you know, from year to year. And you can see, of course, the charts that we're showing to you. Yes, Rodolfo.
I think it's about at the end of the day, it's about connecting emotionally with people, you know, and have that sense of belonging. And how are you guys managing expectations around flexibility at eMed in a way that supports both performance and well-being?
Yeah, it's a great question because for us, as I mentioned before, flexibility really isn't necessarily about location. And I understand the trends are showing this. We're actually more of the trend with the greater return to face-to-face in-office presence, as we're seeing is a very fast developing trend, not only here in Miami, but throughout the US. Many of the larger and mid-sized organizations are requiring greater in-office presence than they were even last year. And that's a trend, as you state, that I expect is going to continue. It doesn't mean that flexibility is being replaced, though, especially if you look at it around performance alignment. So I think what you highlighted when talking about pre-pandemic, pandemic, and post-pandemic, one of the shifts that has happened that has been very positive is if organizations put the thought and time into it to do it well, was to design roles based on what drives outcomes. And if that is the case, then that flexibility is all around what is driving the desired outcomes. So we are actually looking and leveraging AI for this as well, and the outcomes of AI, looking to leverage more of a flexible, what I'm going to call product or scrum team approach to managing priorities across the organization versus a more traditional hierarchical system of what most organizations have of a siloed departmental approach. So you're going to have teams of experts coming together and then driving core initiatives and then disbanding. It's going to allow for, and that is what we're already seeing happening in many AI first organizations. They may reform, or some of those individuals be included in other key priority areas, but it's no longer more important to say, I am in HR, or I am in marketing, or I am in finance. I am part of this group of specialized experts that are coming together to drive strategically the next business initiative, core priority initiative of the company. That's where we are right now. But you asked about benefits and how those flexible benefits, a lot of ours are related to another trend we've seen, which is that focus on wellness. And so wellness can be taken very broad. So we've added what we call an advanced EAP to our benefits offering, which offers, for example, unlimited mental health consultations. These are not through our organization. It's offered because they are a team member of eMed, but through a telehealth primarily, mental health practitioners for things, whether it's related to potential burnout, whether it is dealing with substances, or whether it is dealing with a teenager. All of these are things that they can call about. Those mental health aspects are more and more important and more sought out also by some of the younger generations that have become used to talking about mental health much more so than individuals of my generation, as an example. We also have a company-sponsored GLP-1, GIP program for supervised medical weight loss. That is something that employees increasingly in the US, and especially mid and large-size employers, are seeking out, and employees definitely want. But we also offer a number of discount programs for everything from travel and movies to gyms and even food delivery, so that our employees can take advantage of those to develop that healthier lifestyle that is part of helping them be the whole person become not only healthier, but therefore also more productive in the workplace.
Thank you, Ken. Where do I apply to eMed?
eMed.com.
That sounds great. Sounds like a great company. That's great. Thank you very much.
Excuse
Go ahead,
me,
Diego. The
Rodolfo,
final trend.
give some time, please, for Q&A, because there are a number of questions out there.
Yeah.
Some directed to Diego and some to Ken, so we want to get them involved also, if that's possible.
Sure.
Thanks.
Sure. Okay, so number 5, sustainability as a driver of attraction and loyalty. Sustainability to us is culture. It has to be on the table, on the board, not only in the management committee, but in the board. It needs to become culture and also a core value of organizations. Less than 50% of the new generation, according to our study, actually believe that the organization they work for has a real impact on society and the environment. And 45% of new generations have turned down job offers due to ethical concerns. This is corporate governance and, of course, ESG. Yeah, some data there. I don't know, Rolf, if you want to jump in now with Ken.
Yeah. I think just to finish up, this is clearly not a checkbox. It's no longer just a CSR initiative. So help us understand, Ken, how do you guys do it in eMed?
Yeah, I know we want to get to questions, so I'll be quick on this one. Sustainability, in short, is no longer a corporate sidebar as it once was. It is indeed the talent magnet. Sustainability is culture. So sustainability and culture are woven into our EVP, that employee value proposition. We see, as was mentioned earlier, candidates ask as much about community impact as they do about compensation in interviews. This is core. Sustainability, culture are what is leveraged in today's environment for you in your organization to be that talent magnet, both attracting and repelling the candidates who are not the right fit, attracting those who are, but repelling those who are not a right fit for your culture at this time.
Great.
We can go deeper into that, but I know we do have questions.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have time. Go ahead, Fred, with the questions.
You'll carry on, Rodolfo. You're operating it like a PhD and doing a great job. If you could just open up the Q&A. I know there were a couple of questions before. I think one from Alfonso, another one from Oscar.
Yeah, Alfonso asked, could you please elaborate on the ambassador role? I don't know. I'm not sure I understand the question.
May I explain?
Sure, go ahead.
In one of the slides, I think the one after the purpose and culture of the most important topic nowadays, you were mentioning that there is a role of ambassador in some companies to promote the company. At least what it was, what I understood.
Yes.
So,
yeah, sure.
this ambassador role is something that is hired with that purpose for some companies, or the ambassadors are, employees that with the time, the connection with the company,
Sure.
the understanding of the purpose, the values, the culture, etc. Finally, convert in ambassadors as a consequence of that. It was not clear for me.
Sure. Okay, so an ambassador normally is someone who acts as an influencer in the company. Sometimes they are not the decision makers themselves, but they are influencers who have a close relationship with a CEO or other key decision makers. Normally, they are part of the C-suite sometimes, and they are people with significant impact. They move crowds and shape opinions also.
If I can maybe add on to that,
Sure.
I think the ambassador role, to your question, it's not always a separate role that is hired as such. We don't have someone called an ambassador, but I will also say for those leaders, and certainly for all of us in HR, one of our primary roles and responsibilities is being the culture champion. I recall having had the privilege of speaking and being mentored by Don Soderquist, the former COO of Walmart. And he himself mentioned, even during Walmart's tremendous growth over the past decades, he saw his primary role being that of a culture champion. And I think when we think about leadership, knowing where we are today, that is something I would definitely keep in mind. So whether it's called ambassador or culture champion, I think it is touching on those as leaders to foster and further the culture, both in the community as well as internally.
Indeed.
Thank you. There's another question here from Oscar Elizaga. In the understanding, the HR Trends 2025 survey reflects the views of HR executives. Were those same questions validated with the corporate executives to whom they report, namely CEO, CFO, COO, depending on the organizational construct?
Yes, they were. We actually validate those answers with, we have 15 depth interviews with CEOs. So yes, we did.
And the answers align very well with the McKinsey study, the World Economic Forum study, and the others that you've presented there as well. So they are very closely correlated.
They're connected, yes, indeed.
Yeah, I don't see more questions, so I think we're on time, Fred.
Ken, just a question regarding remuneration and the financial package. It appears that it's much more of a minimal objective with people with all that we've discussed. What role does the remuneration and take place today when you take into consideration everything you've discussed between culture and the personalized healthcare issues and other benefits that you provide? Where are we as far as the financial part?
Yeah, it is still an important part of it. Now, I think it is, if you want to use a poker analogy, the ante to play at the table. If you can't be so far off of market to be non-competitive and think you're still going to win the talent. So as long as you have a competitive package to be at the table, Then as you add on special benefits, personalization, learning, the ability to be part of these new age teams that are emerging, etc., that's where the winning happens. So I don't want to give the impression that it's not important. It is important, but it's the, again, to stay with the analogy, the ante to be at the table. It is not, it hasn't been for a while, in my opinion, the most important. You can be competitive and get some of the top talent with a competitive, meaning market norm, even at the median, if you have some of these other items. The other trend I'm seeing related to that, though, Fred, and I love the question, is that we are seeing the other elements beyond base salary becoming more and more prevalent and important. What I mean by that, a lot more organizations are putting more into the variable comp area throughout the region and throughout the world. So they want to see more skin in the game. So if it was whatever the salary was plus a, let's call it 20% bonus in the past, now it may be a slightly lower base, but up to 50% bonus. Now giving them more skin in the game. And we are seeing equity becoming a much more enticing figure. We see right now Facebook leveraging that to attract individuals from every company they possibly can in the AI space. But it is something that equity in shares, units, RSUs, whatever they are, whatever form, is being leveraged very highly to give both ownership as well as real wealth generation to individuals.
I know this is an international crowd, and I'm not sure if you do have employees that you send in management roles overseas, and if so, do you have any type of special expat packages? Because I understand from different companies now, they've eliminated the pension program, they've eliminated certain things. How is your program designed now?
We do have certain individuals that go abroad. Most of them don't have special expat privileges as some of the larger corporations may have had in place over the years. We work a lot with energy companies, for example, that still have very robust expat programs and privileges. Those privileges are mainly in the form of equity. And it's a trend there, rather than certain housing privileges, maid privileges, transportation privileges, and school privileges for children, etc. It's more in the form of equity, and we're seeing a big trend, especially in the Americas, of rather than expat, repatriation. Multinational companies that used to be headquartered and maybe still be headquartered in Miami, for example, having a lot of their top executives relocating back to in-country rather than coming to Miami, having those expertise in places like Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, etc., rather than them all being in Miami, as was the case even 10 to 15 years ago.
That's great information, and I think that very valuable, especially for our unique group where everyone has functioned as an expat and at one point in time in their career have lived overseas, whether like Rodolfo in Africa, Latin America, or China, or wherever. So I think in conclusion, I really want to thank Ken so much for so much of information, and so interesting. And definitely what we definitely have to keep an eye on is what you mentioned about learning agility, no matter what position or responsibility you have, and also for the individual and for the company, how important is the chemical relationship between people and culture in general. So I want to thank you so much, Ken, for joining us this meeting. And Diego, it was a privilege having you as president and CEO of Cornerstone, one of the top executive search companies globally.
My
And
pleasure.
Rodolfo, for such a fantastic job as moderator today.
Thank you.
And it was fantastic. And I just want to remind everybody, since we mentioned artificial intelligence a number of times, and Ken is very much welcome. And of course, Diego, on the 11th of August, we're having one of the top executives at Citibank who is going to be addressing the rollout of AI in the banking industry, financial industry, and that should be very interesting. So I hope to see Diego and Ken, and of course Rodolfo will be there. But
Of course.
you're very much invited. And
My pleasure. Thank you.
in behalf of IAG, I thank you guys so much for your comments and your time to address our group. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day.
Well, thank you very much
Well,
for
thank
everything.
Take care.
well.
Bye.
Bye-bye.